On silent cobbles, a city's anger stirred. A desperate bid for freedom, claiming lives in the still darkness. They dared. Knights, symbols of an age, rode with pride and steel. Then, the earth itself betrayed them. A sudden, cruel halt. Farmers and weavers, forged by resolve, met noble steel. Their simple tools proved deadly. A new, terrifying kind of battlefield. Where pride fell, gold lay gleaming, a silent testament. The earth drank blood, and the wind whispered of what was lost. How, my friend, could such a scene unfold? An impossible victory whispered across a continent, defying all understanding. Imagine, if you will, the impossible odds. A mighty army, vast and formidable, seemed destined to crush all resistance. Europe's most renowned heavy cavalry, paragons of battle, were their opponents. An elite force, unmatched, or so they believed. These were the titans of their age, born to command. Their thunderous charge, a fear-inducing force, shattered all opposition. Yet, arrayed against this might, stood commoners, farmers, artisans, a determined force, fighting for their very way of life. The stage was set for a clash so improbable, it felt almost mythical. Two worlds collided, against all historical precedent. Popular tales often speak of vast numbers, 25,000 against 14. A legend, perhaps, but its spirit endures. Yet, even with truer numbers, the story remains astonishing. A testament to defiance, to courage that shines through history. It was on July 11th, in the year of our Lord 1302, that this unlikely drama unfolded, a day remembered. The place? A quiet Flemish field near Kortrijk. This was the stage for the Battle of the Golden Spurs, an improbable clash indeed, where common folk would stand resolute, challenging the very bedrock of feudal power. This was more than just a battle, it shattered foundations. Feudal warfare would never truly be the same again. For courage, when coupled with strategic resolve, proved itself a mighty weapon. Overwhelming odds met their match. Arrogance often blinds, but defiance sees clearly. The will of ordinary people changed the very course of history. This story, my friend, ignites a profound curiosity. How was such an epic upset, such a miracle, truly possible? We journey back to that fateful soil, to understand, to feel the heart of Flanders beating strong through time. What forces converged? What choices were made on that day? Let us uncover this remarkable tale together. This is a story of ordinary people, extraordinary bravery. A tale whispered by the wind, asking to be heard. Imagine, if you will, stepping back centuries, a time when the world was woven differently, with different threads. This was the heart of the feudal age, a complex tapestry of allegiances, debts, and ancient promises. Power flowed not always from crowns, but from oaths given, hand to hand, beneath watchful stone. The nobility, those born to command, held immense sway over lands and the lives within them, and beneath them, the knightly class, a shield and sword for their lords, a force of their own. Amidst this, a great kingdom was blossoming, France, growing into an undeniable, powerful presence. Under King Philip IV, the Fair, France was becoming a true superpower, restless and ambitious. His reign marked a pivotal moment, shaping the destiny of the continent with strategic brilliance and firm resolve. France's influence was spreading, like the roots of an ancient oak, deep and unyielding. Territorial ambitions burned brightly in Paris, a hunger for more land, more power, more control. But across its northern border lay a smaller, yet remarkably rich land, the County of Flanders. Though small in size, its heart pulsed with a unique vitality, unlike its larger, more imposing neighbors. This tiny county held immense wealth, a glittering jewel in Europe's crown, coveted by many. Its prosperity sprang not from conquest, but from commerce, from the tireless hands of its skilled people. Flanders was a land of artisans, of weavers and merchants, who transformed raw materials into treasure. Its thriving textile industry was the engine of its wealth, spinning gold from the very fabric of society. But the secret to its success lay across the sea, in the lush pastures of England. English wool, renowned for its quality, was the lifeblood of the Flemish looms, an essential commodity. This reliance on English wool created a powerful, intricate bond, a bridge over troubled waters. Without that steady supply, the textile heart of Flanders would falter, its prosperity would dim. Nominally, Flanders was a French vassal, bound by centuries of feudal tradition, a technicality sometimes, but beneath that title simmered a fierce desire for self-determination, a spirit of independence. They constantly sought to maintain their unique economic and political autonomy, a freedom hard-won and cherished. Their wealth gave them leverage, a voice stronger than their size suggested, a true power of their own. This deep yearning for independence was a seed planted long ago, now blossoming into something undeniable. So, we had two distinct worlds, a burgeoning giant and a wealthy, defiant heartland. France's grand ambitions clashed with Flanders' unwavering will for self-governance, a brewing storm. The stage was being quietly set for an inevitable confrontation, tensions growing day by day. An entire era teetered on this delicate balance, this growing friction between master and vassal. The quiet discontent would soon erupt into fury on Flemish soil, shaking the very foundations of Europe. Our story takes us to Flanders, a land of industrious souls, now stirring restlessly under a foreign hand. King Philip IV of France the Fair sought to weave Flanders into his grand tapestry, a heavy thread indeed. But the Flemish heart, fiercely independent, began to chafe. A subtle unease settled over their ancient towns. French governors arrived, their foreign tongues and customs grating. They ruled with an iron fist, distant and cold. Decisions once made by their own were now handed down. Local voices faded, replaced by distant decrees. The sight of the French banner, replacing their own, was a constant reminder, a wound, silently festering. Little by little, these daily slights and injustices chipped away. Patience wore thin, spirits grew weary. The seeds of rebellion, tiny and unseen, found fertile ground. A whisper, then a rumble began. Then came the taxes, a crushing burden, squeezing the life from their harvests, their crafts, their very breath. Merchants, once prosperous, now struggled. Their hard-earned wealth drained away, flowing to distant French coffers. Simple folk found it harder to feed their families, to keep warm. Survival became a daily, grinding fight. Every new decree felt like another chain, binding them tighter. Their freedom, a fading memory. The resentment simmered, a dark stew of injustice and anger. It reached every home, every hearth. From the bustling market to the quiet fields, a shared grievance took root. A storm was gathering. Whispers turned to murmurs, then to quiet resolves. The air itself seemed to crackle with anticipation. The city itself felt heavy, pregnant with unspoken fury. Bruges held its breath, waiting for a sign. The deep-seated anger, long suppressed, was about to erupt. A fire kindled in the Flemish heart. The night of the 18th of May, 1302, a date etched in blood, in the memory of a defiant people. Through the ancient streets, silent figures moved. A conspiracy, carefully woven, was about to unravel. Hearts pounded, hands tightened on hidden tools. The city slept, unaware of the awakening storm. As the first light touched the cobblestones, an eerie quiet descended. This was not an ordinary morning. Shield en vrong, shield and friend. The whispered password, the spark igniting the fuse. Those who could not utter the Flemish words were deemed enemies. No quarter was given. Suddenly, the city awoke not to song, but to screams. The uprising had begun, swift and brutal. Bakers, weavers, artisans. They rose, united in fury. Every street became a battleground. French garrisons, caught unawares, found themselves facing a tidal wave of righteous, desperate anger. Thousands fell that day, a grim harvest. Bruges tasted vengeance, bitter and profoundly sad. A profound silence settled, heavy with death and defiance. The bloody matins were complete. News reached King Philip. His fury knew no bounds. He swore vengeance, swift and absolute. A massive army began to gather, a storm cloud on the horizon. Flanders would pay dearly. A shadow began to lengthen across the lowlands, a tremor of what was to come. From the south, a colossal power stirred. France, the Leviathan, gathered its terrible strength. Their confidence was a palpable thing, a heavy cloak draped over their formidable might. At its head, Count Robert II of Artois, a name that echoed with authority. He was a seasoned warrior, his reputation carved into the very earth of many battlefields. A vast host, estimated between 6,500 and 8,000 souls, marched. Predominantly, these were elite heavy cavalry, the very thunder of feudal warfare itself. Not mere levies, but professional soldiers, hardened by countless campaigns and strict training. Imagine seeing such a force. It must have felt like the whole world was turning against you. Their objective was stark, simple, to crush the rebellious spirit blossoming in Flanders. No room for negotiation, no mercy for those who dared challenge their king's will. But across the border, in the bustling Flemish cities, a different story was unfolding. From the ancient stones of Bruges, a whispered defiance began to stir in the crisp air. And in Ghent, the weavers and merchants felt the looming shadow, uniting their hearts. Even Ypres, with its proud halls, understood the gravity of the encroaching threat. These cities, often squabbling amongst themselves, had deep-seated historical differences. Yet, the shared peril forged a bond, setting aside ancient grudges and petty rivalries. They chose unity, a single resolute front against the overwhelming French tide. Their force, estimated between 9,000 and 10,000, was different, yet fierce. These were the urban militia, citizens who defended their homes and precious freedoms. Artisans, their hands usually shaping beauty, now prepared to wield weapons of war. Even the farmers, tethered to their land, answered the urgent call to arms. Not professional soldiers, but men who understood the land and what they fought for. Under leaders like Guy of Nemours, a beacon of hope for their struggling people, his resolve was infectious, spreading through the ranks like wildfire, strengthening hearts. And John I of Nemours, his spirit bright, stood ready beside his countrymen. They brought a different kind of strength, a bond of brotherhood and shared purpose, a defiance not born of arrogance, but from a deep love for their homeland. The odds seemed insurmountable, a giant facing a determined, yet smaller foe. But the Flemish held a secret, a simple yet devastating answer to their challenge. It was called the Godendag, a name that would soon echo across battlefields. A simple staff, crafted from the strong wood of the Flemish forests, tipped with a formidable, sharp iron spike designed for brutal, direct impact, and a metal flange, a crushing, blunt force, just beneath that deadly point. Its beauty lay in its raw simplicity, born of necessity and ingenious practicality. A devastating weapon indeed, capable of inflicting terrible, bone-shattering damage with ease. It was conceived specifically to dismantle the French elite, their thunderous cavalry. The heavy staff could cripple a horse, bringing down rider and mount alike. And its spike, sharp and true, could pierce even the thickest plate armor, targeting the vulnerable gaps in a knight's defense, turning strength into weakness. These citizen soldiers trained relentlessly, mastering their deceptively simple weapon with grim resolve. The Godendag became a symbol, an emblem of Flemish defiance against overwhelming odds. The stage was now set, a collision course between power and an unbreakable spirit. History awaited its breath, poised on the brink of a fury that would soon erupt. The weight of a nation rested heavy. Desperate Flemish lands awaited a fateful choice, a crucial moment. They faced an enemy far greater, armed with formidable cavalry. Hope seemed thin amidst the overwhelming odds. Yet, from these quiet men, a brilliant strategic decision began taking shape. Slowly, deliberately, precisely. Their courage wasn't blind charge, it was cunning, to turn the very land into their most powerful ally. They would not meet the French juggernaut on open ground, but on their chosen, desperate terms. This quiet corner of Flanders held secrets, a landscape that could either protect or utterly betray. The Flemish leaders, wise in their homeland's ways, saw its hidden strength, its true potential. This was their stage. Ingenuity meeting brute force. A pivotal moment, quietly unfolding before them. The very ground would become their shield, a formidable defense against the thundering, unstoppable hooves. A landscape of marshy terrain, a soft, yielding embrace ready to swallow the unwary and grand. And then, the waters. Numerous canals, slender veins crisscrossing the land, a deceptive, watery network. Small rivers too, threading their way, carving crucial barriers where the land seemed most inviting. They sought not an open battleground, but a labyrinth of natural obstacles, carefully chosen, profoundly understood. This tactical selection, a stroke of brilliance, was paramount to their survival, their very freedom. It aimed to negate the overwhelming advantage of French heavy cavalry, their pride and power. Imagine the thundering charge, the earth shaking, now met by resistance from the land itself. The vast marshy stretches, their surface deceptive, hid treacherous mud beneath innocent swaying reeds. Here, even a foot soldier struggled, let alone a man and horse laden with heavy steel. Every powerful step would be a struggle, every stride swallowed by the insatiable, yielding earth. The numerous canals, like natural trenches, would break any formation, severing their once mighty unity. Too wide to leap, too deep to wade without slowing, they were perfect, unyielding defensive lines. These watery threads, seemingly innocuous, became formidable obstacles, slowing the French advance dramatically. Forcing them to fight on unfavorable ground, the Flemish planned to turn strength into fatal weakness. Their mighty charges, once unstoppable, would lose all terrifying momentum, dissipating into hopeless mud. The sheer force, the unstoppable push, became bogged down, frustrated, and utterly vulnerable now. Their disciplined formations, their very strength, would shatter into disarray, a chaotic, struggling mass. This was the genius of the Flemish, to use the land, embrace its difficulties, turn it. Every ditch, every stream, every soft patch was a silent ally, a guardian of freedom. They would make the French pay dearly for every inch of this difficult, hard-won Flemish soil. The chosen ground became a trap, not of cunning pits, but of nature's own ancient design. These natural defenses would protect the Flemish foot soldiers, allowing them to hold their chosen ground. French heavy cavalry, symbols of feudal power, would find their terrifying purpose utterly denied here. Their charges, meant to break lines with sheer force, would lose essential power, slowly fading. The momentum, so crucial for shock cavalry, would be utterly absorbed by the boggy, unforgiving earth. Formations meant for coordinated assault would splinter, becoming individual struggles against this challenging landscape. This was their desperate hope, their ingenious answer to overwhelming odds. A silent, powerful gamble. The ingenuity of an outmatched force, preparing to defend their homeland, their very way of life. The air thrummed with unspoken tension, a deep collective breath before the storm finally broke. Each man knew his role, understood the desperate gamble, felt the immense weight of history. The field, now quiet, waited patiently for the dawn, ready to play its crucial, devastating part. A quiet confidence, born not of arrogance, but of brilliant foresight, settled upon weary souls. The dawn would bring the French, but here, on this ground, their usual dominance meant nothing. They turned the very land into a weapon, a silent, formidable ally against an empire's might. The stage was set, the trap was laid. Flanders awaited fury, history held its breath. July 11th, 1302, dawn-painted sky. The land waited, profound tension building within it. The morning breath of the earth, cool and quiet. A fragile peace clung to every blade, every leaf. The vast Flemish plains lay hushed, an expectant stillness before the roar. The world paused, holding its breath. This was the day, a simple date, yet etched forever in the very soil of this quiet, waiting land. In the Flemish camp, a quiet resolve, a steely gaze met the dawn. No fanfare, just quiet strength. Across the fields, French camp bustled, An eager, restless energy pulsed, awaiting their glory. Pride swelled. The very air between them was charged, a palpable, electric current humming with unspoken dread and anticipation. The sun climbed, burning away mist. It revealed a landscape pregnant with the storm of men, not of nature. As light embraced the field, the French might stood revealed, a glistening, arrogant ocean of feudal power. That deep, unsettling silence before the storm, a final shared breath before all hell broke loose. A distant murmur from the Flemish lines, a quiet prayer, a collective plea, simple faith against armored might. The French answered with clang and snort, a symphony of steel, a metallic prelude to their proud, promised victory. A low rumble, like the earth itself groaning, moved across the field. Heavy things stirred, unsettling the air. Whispers carried on the wind, fragments of commands, nervous coughs, the sounds of thousands anticipating their fates. Then, a solitary drum, a heartbeat, soon more joined, building an ominous rhythm, an inevitable march. Drums boomed, trumpets blared, the crescendo of sound, signaling the end of quiet. No turning back now. The vast French lines stirred, a slow, powerful ripple, like the tide. The grand, arrogant movement began. Banners unfurled, symbols of ancient pride. They danced in the wind, foretelling a glorious, swift, and certain victory. Then came the first wave, a wall of steel and horseflesh, moving with terrifying grace, ready to crush. The earth itself began to tremble, a slow, deliberate movement, gathering momentum, an unstoppable force, they believed. Knights, eager, spurred their steeds. Their faces, beneath gleaming helms, were alight with arrogant confidence. A sea of steel, thundering forward, the might of feudal Europe, a truly magnificent, terrifying spectacle of power. Impatient for glory, young knights pushed faster. Their pride blinded them. Caution fell forgotten like discarded armor. The charge began in earnest now. A thunderous roar, a shaking earth, the unstoppable might of France. A commander's desperate warning, a pointing hand. The treacherous ground, unheeded, beckoned the proud advance. But glory called louder. Knights, dismissive, rode past caution. Their arrogance became their silent, swift executioner. The green fields looked deceptively firm, a verdant carpet hiding death beneath, beauty masking a deadly trap. Warnings fell on deaf ears, proud hearts. The thundering hooves sealed their fate, heedless of the earth's whispers. Then, a jolt. A leading horse stumbled, forelegs sinking deep. The ground had betrayed their glorious charge. One, then another, stumbled. A ripple of confusion spread through the tightly packed ranks. This was unexpected. The solid earth yielded. Mud sucked at hooves, slowing the relentless charge. A grim, unseen hand pulled. Panic in wide eyes. Horses' legs mired, trapped. A terrible, dawning realization began to spread rapidly. The field had turned. A quagmire, a soft, grasping maw. Mud clung, relentless, swallowing their proud advance. Hidden canals, ditches, now revealed. Treacherous, unseen obstacles turning the field into a deadly, waterlogged maze. Waterlogged earth held fast. Knights struggled, trapped. Their heavy armor, once protection, became a cruel, drowning weight. The field became a maw, swallowing horses whole. This proud, confident charge was now turning into a nightmare. Screaming horses fell, legs snapping. A chorus of agony filled the air. Their noble steeds became struggling burdens. Riders, flung from saddles, landed hard. Heavy armor pinned them. The grand charge disintegrated into chaotic falling. A knight's face, helmet askew, eyes wide. Disbelief, then terror. This was not the glorious victory promised. Formations buckled, shattered. The proud, orderly lines merged into chaos. Coherence evaporated, leaving only turmoil. The magnificent charge, now just a desperate struggle, disarray, confusion. a broken, dying dream of easy victory. Heavily armored, trapped, knights struggled, unable to move, vulnerable, disoriented. Their world became a terrifying quagmire. Disorientation, then panic. Their strength, their armor, useless. The earth itself had turned against these proud knights. Then, the dawning horror. Their hubris, their pride, had led them here. This treacherous field was their undoing. The thunderous charge, once a symbol of their might, now began to waver, a tide meeting an unyielding shore. Confusion rippled through their ranks, a tremor of doubt shaking even the most hardened hearts that day. But the Flemish stood firm, a wall of defiance, their gaze fixed on the approaching, faltering cavalry. The treacherous ground, soaked with rain and blood, became an unexpected ally, snaring the proud horses. Their momentum faded, not with a clash of steel, but a heavy, dragging sigh across the muddied fields. The moment they had trained for, prayed for, was upon them. A deep breath held across the entire line. Their discipline was a wonder, a quiet strength that belied the fury building within each simple man. Then, a signal, subtle yet profound, rippled through their formation, an unspoken agreement to act. They moved, a slow, inexorable tide, their boots finding purchase in the very mud that hindered their foes. The counterattack began, not with a roar, but with a determined, quiet march into the heart of battle. These were the tools of their freedom, simple yet deadly, ready to meet the might of feudal aristocracy. No longer merely defending, they advanced, their eyes alight with a righteous fury, a desperate hope. The French, once so confident, now saw a different enemy, one that dared to push back. The initial contact was measured, a gentle probing before the storm, testing the strength of the proud invaders. Their lines held, an unbreakable bond forged in the fires of oppression, refusing to yield an inch. Then came the fury of the Underdog, a brutal dance of wood and steel against the armored foe. The horse cried out, the knight tumbled down, his heavy armor now a cruel, imprisoning shell. Entangled and helpless, their once feared mounts were gone, leaving them vulnerable, exposed targets. No quarter given, no mercy shown, only the grim efficiency born of survival and desperate necessity. The battlefield became a gruesome landscape, a testament to the commoners' unexpected and brutal effectiveness. Their training for horseback combat rendered useless. They struggled, burdened by the very gear meant to protect. The Flemish pushed on, a relentless wave, their spirit unbreakable, their cause righteous and pure. It was a visceral, brutal ballet where skill and sheer will triumphed over birthright and privilege. Terror began to grip the French, a creeping dread, realizing their invincible image was but a hollow myth. Each swing was a declaration, a guttural cry of freedom from centuries of silent, endured oppression. The battlefield dissolved into utter chaos, a maelstrom of desperate struggles, and the grim reality of war. The earth drank deeply that day, a gruesome mix of crimson and brown, bearing witness to the carnage. Screams, both of agony and defiance, pierced the air, a symphony of suffering and unyielding resolve. The clang of steel against steel, a relentless, deafening rhythm, marked the passage of many souls. These commoners, once overlooked, now fought with a ferocity born of all they held dear. It was a resistance unprecedented, defying all expectations, rewriting the very rules of feudal warfare. Against an enemy thought invincible, they stood, a testament to the human spirit when pushed too far. The tide had turned, not gently, but with a ferocious roar, sweeping away centuries of assumed power. Despair crept into the French hearts, a cold dread replacing their earlier, confident swagger and pride. Their unity was their strength, a shared purpose binding every man in this epic historic struggle. Even noble Robert II of Artois, a symbol of French might, found himself trapped, hopelessly outnumbered. He fought with the fury of a lion, a desperate, proud defiance against the inevitable, unforgiving end. But even the bravest cannot stand alone against a storm. A decisive blow brought the proud leader down. His death was a profound moment, a dramatic turning point, etched forever into the blood-soaked earth. With their commander fallen, The last flicker of French morale extinguished, leaving only abject terror. The proud army, once so feared, was now a broken, scattered force, relentlessly pursued across the fields. They were repelled, then encircled, a desperate, hopeless trap closing around the once invincible warriors. Mercilessly cut down, the flower of French chivalry withered, falling before the commoners' unyielding wrath. It was an epic, unforeseen victory, a testament to freedom's enduring spirit, forever shaking feudal Europe. The sun dipped low. Thousands lay still across the mud. A somber stillness, a heavy victory. The fury had passed, leaving only echoes. French nobility broken, scattered across the Flanders plain, victors walked among the fallen, their faces etched. No wild cheers, just a profound shared quiet. An overwhelming number, far beyond expectation. The very earth seemed to weep that night. What had they truly won? Freedom, yes, but at such an immense human cost. With morning's first light, another task began. A solemn duty amidst the fallen now. From the boots of the fallen knights, a macabre harvest. Each spur a gilded memory. Piles of gleaming spurs grew, a stark testament. Golden trophies, wrenched from a humbled pride. It was a symbol, a message to all. No longer invincible, the French knights' reign. Carried away, not for wealth, but for history. A silent, weighty procession towards Kortrijk now, through the cobbled streets to the grand church. A sacred space awaiting its new, weighty burden. Carefully, reverently, each golden spur was hung, a silent bell tolling for absent knights now. Thousands, glinting in the candlelight. A golden tapestry of victory, woven with sacrifice. Now, Flemish citizens gazed, a mix of pride and somber reflection. A profound moment, etched in time. Thus, the battle found its enduring name. The Golden Spurs, a legend born from mud. The news traveled swiftly, like wildfire. Whispers turned to shouts across every court. Kings and princes listened, aghast. French heavy cavalry defeated? Unthinkable, yet true. The ancient order trembled. Infantry, the common man, had triumphed over the elite. A new chapter in warfare began that day. The invincible knight, now merely human. While Europe reeled, Flanders celebrated. Bells rang out, songs of freedom filled the air. Joy, hard won, and deeply felt. A people once oppressed, now stood tall and free. Yet, across the border, fury simmered. King Philip, humiliated, would not forget this. The conflict was far from over. A king's vengeful heartbeat, plotting future retribution. The dust settled on the Groninger Kuta, but its echoes would ripple through the very fabric of Europe for centuries. Here, the old world's ironclad myth, the invincibility of the mounted knight, truly began to crumble. Their pride, once unyielding, met its match against the common man's defiant courage and disciplined ranks. This unexpected fury on Flemish soil sparked radical new thoughts about warfare's very nature and strategy. It subtly laid the groundwork, a quiet whisper, for the formidable power of archers seen in battles to come. The lessons learned here, though painful, would bloom on distant fields, reshaping kingdoms with their strategic brilliance. Beyond tactics, the battle forged an unbreakable spirit, cementing a profound, defiant Flemish identity forevermore. Their deep-seated quest for freedom, born from this crucible, continues to echo through their resilient hearts. This victory underscored the rising strength of bustling cities, their courageous militias, and their collective will. Ordinary citizens, once overlooked, stood tall. Their voices began to truly matter in Europe's grand tapestry. The purely feudal age, with its strict hierarchies, quietly began its slow, inevitable, and profound twilight here. Unity, unwavering courage, and intelligent strategy are timeless lessons this day bequeathed to all of us. Such powerful virtues can indeed overcome the most formidable adversaries, truly reshaping the entire course of history. Thank you for joining this journey. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe.